Let's unpack this some more with Timothy Walker. He's the Maritime Project Leader and a Senior Researcher at the Institute for Security Studies. He joins us now from Johannesburg. Timothy, great to have you on this program. The ICJ made this ruling yesterday, but Kenya says it will not recognize it. So where does this leave this long-running dispute now?
Good morning. Yes, it certainly does create a problem for things like compliance and whether Kenya will continue to be seen as a champion of maritime policies, maritime governance going forward. As you mentioned, the court doesn't have powers of enforcement, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there won't be a diplomatic cost, in particular for Kenya, if it goes ahead and chooses to disregard the ruling. I mean, we've already seen the Kenyan president issue a very firm statement saying that it's not going to abide by this decision. Now, Kenya, it must be noted, is currently actually chairing the UN Security Council at the moment, and its president, among many other world leaders, is part of the high-level oceans panel. So I imagine behind the scenes there will actually be quite a bit of pressure on Kenya from an international perspective to not rock the boat so much, as it were, because the rules-based order which is underpinning this decision, and also the zone itself, this economic zone, which is being parceled up now. It must be remembered that Kenya in the 1970s is actually credited as the creator of this concept as well. So even if the decision leads to diplomatic falling out still, which we've unfortunately still seen, the fact remains that the rest of the world will be looking at this, and indeed the African Union and neighboring countries as well. Any kind of tension which carries on will have, I think, huge regional implications in terms of setting back economic progress for integration or joint trade plans and deals. And there's so much riding on it there that a decision like this needs to be resolved amicably and diplomatically.
Well, Timothy, UhuruKenyatta has said that the ruling will, and I'm quoting him here, potentially aggravate the peace and security situation in the fragile Horn of Africa region. We, of course, know that that is not just an important region for East Africa, but for the world as a whole. When it comes to security, how big a deal is this ruling, and what's going to happen next?
Well, I'm sure many viewers will know that there's been an anti-piracy patrol mandated by the United Nations since 2008. And most of the countries of the world with navies have at one time or another contributed patrols to this area. Now, piracy as a problem stemming from Somalia has declined to the lowest levels I think many people will ever see. And it looks like that's going to be a continued long-term trend, provided there's interaction, especially between Kenya and Somalia. Many of the problems, if it's illegal fishing vessels coming from other parts of the world, do not respect these zones. So they will sail between one and the other. They will transgress, and they will often, sometimes maybe be connected to other types of maritime crimes, such as smuggling. Given Somalia has lacked, obviously, a central functioning state for so long, and does not possess a naval capability. It has such a huge coastline, one of the longest on the African continent, that it makes sense in many respects to cooperate with your neighbors because you'll have shared problems. So therefore, the security solutions which we need to be looking at and pursuing in the future are always going to entail collaboration between Kenya and Somalia. One of the solutions which could potentially circumvent this problem of a kind of a winner-takes-all mentality to the maritime zones is to actually conceive of them more in a collaborative fashion, to think of them as joint development zones, which is actually something which has been pursued in other parts of the African continent, such as in West Africa. So even if there are security issues, there is always going to be a large international presence in the region, which will always be a factor. And the collaboration between regional countries is going to be the best way forward for particular problems, maritime security problems in that area to be resolved.
Timothy Walker, really appreciate your expertise on the subject, speaking to us from Johannesburg. Thanks a lot.